All right, let's get right into it. We're going to unpack one of the most disturbing and just far-reaching scandals in modern American history. This is the story of the Epstein Files.
So picture this. It's 1998, and this financier, Jeffrey Epstein, buys a massive 75-acre island out in the Caribbean. I mean, on the surface, it was the definition of paradise, right? You got these beautiful beaches, luxury villas, even its own private helipad, the whole shebang.
But of course, that paradise was hiding a pretty hellish secret. The locals, well, they had a different name for it. A name that tells you everything you need to know. It was a place where underage girls were trafficked, abused, and a place from which they literally could not escape.
And here's the thing. This island wasn't just for Epstein. Nope. It was a destination for some of the most powerful people on the entire planet. We're talking flight logs that show the guest list included people like Britain's Prince Andrew, the scientist Stephen Hawking, and a whole network of other world leaders and billionaires. So, who is the man at the center of this whole web? Jeffrey Epstein. And his story is, well, it's pretty wild. He went from being a math teacher in Brooklyn to a multimillionaire financial advisor, and his real power? It came from having guys like presidents and prime ministers on speed dial.
So you have to be asking, how did a scheme this horrifying even work? And how did it all start to come crashing down? What was that first tiny crack in the wall of secrecy?
Well, it all started with just a single police complaint down in Florida. Back in 2005, a 14-year-old girl was brave enough to come forward. And when the police started investigating, wow, they stumbled onto this insane chain reaction. One victim led them to another, and then another. Within just a few months, they had identified 35 different girls.
And this really shows you the system the police uncovered. See, it wasn't random at all. It was an organized, predatory pyramid scheme. A vulnerable girl would be lured in and abused, and then she'd be paid extra to recruit her own friends. It created this horrific, self-expanding network of victims.
So, at this point, you've got the FBI involved, you've got dozens of victims, you have federal charges on the table. Epstein should have been looking at life in prison. But, yeah, that's not what happened. Behind closed doors, the system was about to fail big time. The federal attorney in Miami at the time, a guy named Alexander Acosta, went and orchestrated a secret deal with Epstein's lawyers. Let's be really clear here. This wasn't about justice. This was about saving Epstein from any real consequences. I mean, just look at the terms of this deal. It is stunning. Epstein pleads guilty to just 2 minor charges. And in return, he and his co-conspirators were given total immunity from all other federal prosecution. And the craziest part? The whole deal was sealed, hidden from the public, and hidden from the very victims it was supposed to serve.
And the result of all this? For running a massive child sex trafficking ring, Jeffrey Epstein got just 18 months. And you can't even call it a real prison sentence. He was put in a private wing of a county jail and was allowed to leave for his fancy office for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. He was basically just sleeping there.
So after he gets out, the case just goes cold for almost a decade. Epstein went right back to his life of luxury and power. But one investigative journalist, she refused to let the story die.
In 2018, Miami Herald journalist Julie K. Brown just blew the case wide open again with this bombshell series she called Perversion of Justice. It laid out everything in meticulous detail: Epstein's crimes, it gave a voice to his victims, and it exposed that secret deal that had let him just walk away.
Her reporting was like a seismic event. It sparked this huge public outrage, and as you can see, her investigation identified over 80 potential victims, more than double what the police had found. The pressure got so intense that authorities in New York had no choice but to reopen the case.
And that led directly to Epstein being rearrested in July 2019, this time on federal sex trafficking charges. He was facing 45 years in prison. But then, just over a month later, he was found dead in his Manhattan jail cell. The official story was suicide, but that sparked a whole new firestorm of questions and conspiracy theories.
You see, Epstein's death didn't end the story. It totally supercharged it. The whole scandal just exploded into the political arena, and it was all fueled by one question: who else was involved, and who might have wanted him silenced for good? So the case became this political minefield, right? You had figures on both sides of the aisle suddenly facing some really uncomfortable questions. I mean, Epstein's connections, they went to the absolute highest levels of power. We're talking former presidents, British royalty. So as the release of documents stayed really slow, of course, people started suspecting a cover-up.
After a ton of public and congressional pressure, some of the files were finally unsealed. And they had some really shocking details about Epstein's network. You had the flight logs from his private jet, sworn testimony with disturbing allegations against a lot of high-profile people, prominent politicians, business leaders, and royalty. But even with these revelations, the documents that were unsealed just lead us to the central, chilling mystery at the heart of this whole thing. What is still being hidden from us?
The files that we have seen offer these disturbing little glimpses. I mean, take a quote like this one from a lawyer representing the victims. It hints at a much wider circle of powerful co-conspirators. And it's just one of these many little fragments that suggest what we know is just a tiny fraction of the truth.
But here's the reality. The vast majority of the documents we've actually seen look just like this. Page after page just covered in black marker. Names, dates, details, entire paragraphs, all of it completely hidden from view.
And honestly, this is the key takeaway from this whole thing. What has been released, even with all those redactions, is just the tiny, tiny tip of a massive iceberg. There are still over 1 million documents related to this case that have not been made public at all.
And that leaves us with the most important and unsettling question of all. With over 1 million documents still locked away, the real question isn't just about who was involved back then. It's about which powerful people are still being protected by these secrets today.